What happens when a society is more concerned with the next big show than with its own survival? What if the greatest illusion of our time is not magic, but the belief that we are free, when in reality we are merely entertained? A civilization that worships amusement does not need chains to remain enslaved. The spectacle itself becomes the prison, the flashing lights of screens replacing the bars of a cell. In ancient Rome, the emperors understood this well. Instead of silencing the people with force, they drowned them in pleasure. Gladiatorial combat, theatrical performances, grand feasts, these distractions kept the masses passive. The same mechanism exists today, only more sophisticated, more subtle, and infinitely more effective. The modern world thrives on distraction. We live in an age where everything is designed to capture and hold our attention. Not for minutes, but for hours, days, lifetimes. Social media algorithms, reality TV, blockbuster films, endless video games, and the ceaseless noise of celebrity culture all serve a single function: to keep our minds occupied with everything except the things that truly matter. And the most insidious part? We willingly participate. We beg for the next episode, the next game, the next viral sensation, unaware that we are consuming our own intellectual and spiritual decay. Aldous Huxley predicted this with eerie accuracy in Brave New World. Unlike Orwell's vision of oppression through fear, 1984, Huxley saw a future where people would be controlled by their own pleasures. No need for dictatorship or censorship. Just give people enough entertainment and they will silence themselves. They will trade their curiosity for comfort, their rebellion for entertainment, their freedom for amusement. Sound familiar? The psychology behind this is simple. Our brains are wired for pleasure, for novelty, for the rush of dopamine that comes from stimulation. But what happens when every moment of boredom is instantly erased by the nearest screen? When critical thought is replaced with passive consumption? We lose the ability to sit in silence, to reflect, to question. We become addicts, not to substances, but to distractions. And like any addiction, it numbs us, robbing us of our awareness, our autonomy, our very sense of self. But there's something even darker beneath this cycle. Distraction is not just about amusement. It is about control. A mind that is constantly entertained does not have time to think critically, to challenge the system, to demand something more than mere spectacle. It is not a coincidence that, as political corruption deepens, as inequality rises, as existential threats loom, we are offered more entertainment than ever before. More streaming services, more games, more shows, more everything. Anything to keep us from looking too closely at the cracks in the world around us. So the question remains, are we truly living, or are we just being entertained to death? If you want to control a population, you don't need whips or chains. You don't need an army in the streets or a dictator on every screen. All you need is bread and circuses. Keep the people fed, keep them entertained, and they will never ask who holds the leash. Juvenal, the Roman poet, observed this truth nearly 2,000 years ago. The Roman Empire, once built on discipline and conquest, became a society obsessed with spectacle. Emperors knew that hungry, dissatisfied citizens were dangerous. Rebellion was a real threat. But a well-fed, distracted population? That was easy to rule. They built massive amphitheaters, staged elaborate battles, and drowned the masses in blood and performance. The people, mesmerized by the games, ceased to question the empire's corruption, its endless wars, or their own servitude. Sound familiar? The strategy of bread and circuses never disappeared. It evolved. The Roman Colosseum may have crumbled, but the principles that kept the empire in power still shape our world today. Modern rulers do not need gladiators when they have celebrities, scandals, and social media. They do not need colosseums when they have reality TV, viral trends, and endless content streams. The masses still cheer, still applaud, still consume. And, just like Rome, they do not revolt. Consider the parallels. The Roman Senate, corrupt and self-serving, continued to plunder wealth while the people gorged themselves on distractions. Today, corporate elites and politicians do the same, creating crises, exploiting resources, hoarding power, while the public is fed a never-ending stream of amusement. The rise and fall of influencers, the latest Hollywood drama, the next big sports event. All of it carefully designed to hold attention, to prevent deeper inquiry. Why think about injustice when there's a new Netflix series to binge? Why question the system when the Super Bowl is on? And just like in Rome, those who profit from the spectacle ensure it never ends. The entertainment industry is not merely about fun. It is a multi-billion-dollar system engineered to consume our time, our emotions, and our minds. Every major corporation, every government, every power structure benefits from a passive population. They want consumers, not thinkers. Spectators, not revolutionaries. The decay of Rome did not happen overnight. The distractions worked, until they didn't. As the empire rotted from within, its people remained oblivious, caught up in the next spectacle, the next game, the next distraction. By the time the Visigoths breached the gates, Rome had already fallen in spirit. The real question is, are we on the same path? Are we already Rome, watching the final performance before the collapse? A distracted mind is an obedient mind, and nothing distracts more effectively than pleasure. In the past, rulers relied on brute force to maintain control. Today, control is far more sophisticated. It is woven into the very fabric of our desires. We are not forced into submission. We surrender willingly, seduced by an endless stream of entertainment designed to hijack our brains. The science behind this is simple, yet terrifying. Our brains are wired for pleasure. Dopamine, the neurotransmitter responsible for reward and motivation, is triggered every time we experience something enjoyable, whether it's food, sex, social validation, or entertainment. The more accessible and immediate the reward, the stronger the addiction. This is the foundation of modern entertainment. Every aspect of it, social media, video games, binge-worthy TV shows, even news cycles, is engineered to create dopamine loops, keeping us hooked in a state of passive consumption. Consider social media. Every notification, like, or comment provides a tiny dopamine hit, reinforcing the habit of checking, scrolling, engaging. We tell ourselves we are staying informed, but in reality, we are trapped in a system that monetizes our attention. The same principle applies to streaming services, where algorithms ensure that the moment one episode ends, another begins. No time to reflect, no space to think, just the next hit, the next distraction. But what's more insidious is how this rewiring of pleasure alters our very perception of reality. The more we indulge in effortless entertainment, the more we lose the ability to engage with anything complex, challenging, or uncomfortable. Books seem too long. Deep conversations feel exhausting. Silence becomes unbearable. We crave constant stimulation, and without it, we feel empty. But is it real emptiness or just withdrawal? Sigmund Freud once argued that civilization demands the repression of primal desires in order to function. But modern entertainment does not repress, it redirects. Instead of channeling energy into meaningful pursuits, it dissipates it into artificial pleasures. This is why people spend more time debating the latest Marvel movie than discussing existential threats. Why entire communities form around fictional universes while the real world decays. Why the most urgent crises, climate collapse, economic inequality, political corruption, are drowned out by trending celebrity gossip. It is not a coincidence, it is a system. And yet, the most tragic part is that we do not feel controlled, we feel free. We choose to scroll, to watch, to play. But is it really a choice when our brains have been conditioned to crave it? Is it freedom when the only alternatives feel unbearable? Perhaps the greatest trick of modern entertainment is not just keeping us distracted, it is making us believe that distraction is all we need. A society that no longer thinks for itself is not a society. It is an audience, and an audience does not act. It watches. It does not shape its own destiny. It waits for the next episode. This is the final consequence of a world consumed by entertainment, the death of critical thought. When distraction becomes the primary function of existence, people lose the ability and even the desire to question. They cease to challenge authority, to seek truth, to engage with anything beyond their immediate pleasure. They become spectators of their own decline, and what is worse, they do not even realize it is happening. Historically, intellectual stagnation has always preceded societal collapse. When cultures prioritize amusement over awareness, when bread and circuses become more important than philosophy and debate, decay is inevitable. The Roman Empire is the classic example, but history is filled with similar warnings. The Weimar Republic, in its final days, was a society intoxicated by cabarets, cinema, and jazz, blind to the rising storm of totalitarianism. The late stages of many great civilizations show the same pattern, an obsession with spectacle as reality deteriorates. And now, we stand at a similar crossroads. Never before has humanity been so saturated with entertainment, so overwhelmed with distractions, so effortlessly manipulated by the things it enjoys. The internet promised unlimited knowledge, yet most use it to escape reality rather than understand it. Politics has become a reality show. Philosophy has been replaced by sound bites, and critical thought has been reduced to whatever fits into a tweet. This is not progress. It is surrender. Perhaps the most terrifying aspect of this is how comforting ignorance becomes. When reality is painful, entertainment offers an escape. Why confront injustice when we can simply turn on the TV? Why reflect on our own mortality when 1,000 digital worlds await? The system does not force us to look away. We look away because it is easier. We become complicit in our own distraction, silencing the voice inside us that once asked, "Is this all there is?" Nietzsche warned that when people are deprived of meaning, they will drown themselves in pleasure to avoid facing the void. But meaning is not found in passive consumption. It is found in struggle, in discomfort, in the pursuit of something beyond immediate gratification. True freedom is not the ability to consume endless entertainment. It is the ability to reject it when necessary, to step outside the spectacle, to think, to question, to demand more from existence than mere amusement. So, we must ask ourselves, are we still in control of our minds, or have we surrendered them to the next distraction? And if we have, is there still time to wake up?